this video, I'm gonna be telling you about the craziest tricks Blox Fruits has to offer. The very first one we got here is this Kitsune boat glitch. All you need is obviously the Kitsune fruit. Activate your transformation and then have a teammate sit on your back. And once you do that, spawn in a boat and then position yourself so your teammate sits in the front seat of the boat. And if you done the trick correctly and your teammate's sitting on that seat, and you or your teammate should be able to control the boat. I guess this one does have practical use because you can get to places faster, or you can just confuse some newer players. Anyways, this next trick is something pretty useful if you want to get your hands on some cash pretty easily. All you have to do is head over to the second sea and come to the raids area, but this trick has absolutely nothing to do with the raids. You see these igloos right here? Well, they aren't just for show. If you use the flashlight glitch and go inside them, then you're gonna notice that some of them actually have chests inside them. That's just free money, so if you're ever doing raids or in the area, you know where to go for free cash. Next trick we got here is something that's completely useful. If you haven't watched my accessories guide video, then this guy's gonna help you a lot. If you head over to the second sea, you're gonna notice an NPC right here called the Nerd NPC. He's this little guy with glasses, you can't miss him. If you wear an accessory and go talk to him, he's gonna tell you the stats of your accessory, because for some reason Blox Fruits doesn't tell you that by default. So now if you get an accessory and if you don't know if it's good or not, just head over to this NPC and talk to him. Next trick I got here is the fastest way to farm sea bees. Everyone knows that sea bees are some of the best sea monsters to farm, whether it's for belly or fragments. And if you manage to get 3 sea bees to spawn in, then you can get a butt ton of money. And if you have double money, even better. But what is the most efficient way for farming them? A lot of you might think just using your normal dough fruit or your Kitsune fruit is gonna make it incredibly easy to farm, but that is not the best idea. First up, the ideal race you want to have to farm the sea bees is shark, and the reason for that is obviously because you're fighting someone in water, and when you're near water, shark v4 is obviously the best choice. And if you do have the awakened version, you can also have the 80% vulnerability, which is gonna make it incredibly easy to survive. And next up, the optimal fruit you want to have for this is Magma V2, and the reason for that is because when you use abilities of this fruit, it actually leaves behind these huge blobs, and these blobs do a butt ton of damage. And if those blobs are still on the sea beast after you shoot them, it's gonna make it incredibly easy to damage it, and you'll be farming to max belly in no time. Next trick we got here is about the Dark Blade, but did you know that there's actually a different variant of the Dark Blade that exists in the game? If you head over to the graveyard at the second sea and you go over to this specific place at that island, you're gonna notice the Rip Indra NPC. And no, this guy's not gonna kill you like the other ones, but he's gonna let you change the variant of your Dark Blade from green to white. I'm not really sure which one looks better, but I think I still prefer the default version. It looks way more like Mihawk's blade. Anyways, moving on, I got a pretty interesting fact here which makes no sense. If you head over to any lava that's on the map in Blox Fruits and you drop your fruit on it, you're gonna notice that the fruit literally stays there, which doesn't make any sense because the fruit should be burning. But if you head over to the water and drop a fruit, well, the fruit is gone. You're never getting it back ever again. Just a pretty interesting observation because, like, why is the lava not burning the food? Anyways, on to the next trick. Everyone knows about this ice admiral who's located at the second sea. Once you defeat him, you unlock a key which lets you unlock the Rengoku sword. But did you know that the Rengoku sword actually has a pretty significant value behind his name? A lot of you might not know this, but there's this anime out there called Demon Slayer, and one of the fan favorite characters from that show is called Rengoku, and the sword looks just like the sword he uses from the anime. And this is just a pretty cool reference because you'd think that Blox Fruits is only modeled after One Piece. Well, that isn't completely the case. Stuff like the Rengoku sword and also Flash Step, it's actually not from One Piece. Flash Step is an ability from Bleach, and it works just like it does in the anime. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, we got a pretty small thing that changed in Update 20. If you head over to the starter island on the first, you're gonna notice that the port looks completely different to what it did before. Before Update 20, it looked like this, and now it looks like this. It's a pretty big difference, and I definitely think the new version looks 10 times better, but the old one was more OGs. But if I was a new player to the game, I would definitely like the second version. Moving on, I'm gonna be telling you a pretty interesting fact you did not know about the Captain Elephant boss. Everyone knows that like 90% of the bosses in this game are actually modeled after One Piece characters, and that same rule applies to Captain Elephant. He's actually modeled after Jack, one of Kaido's henchmen. But did you know that this boss was actually not made completely accurately? Because if you watch the anime, you know that Jack doesn't use any weapons called twin hooks. And that's what the Captain Elephant boss uses in the game. But they're still pretty cool weapons, I can't lie. Anyways, moving on, I'm gonna be telling you about a very overpowered accessory for grinding, especially if you're a Buddha grinder. And I'm obviously talking about the Ghoul mask. This is a rare accessory and it gives you 500 energy, which is pretty cool, but that's not the reason this is good for Buddha grinding. The next reason is that it gives you a 10% life leech on all melee attacks against players and a 2.5% life leech against melee attack on NPC. What this means is that you heal back 2.5% of the damage you do when you're fighting against NPCs. And the best thing about this is it actually also gives you a 35+ movement speed. And everyone knows when you're using the Buddha fruit, that can help you a ton. You can get to your places much faster and it's going to make your farming a lot more efficient. Next thing I'm going to be telling you about is a pretty cool trick you can use when you're farming at the second sea, specifically at the curse ship. When you're doing the chef's quest at this particular end of the bridge, there's actually a secret chest in this area. If you walk into every single one of these lockers one by one, you're going to notice in the middle right here, there's going to be a chest. You won't really see it, but if you walk into it, you're just going to get a bunch of cash. I'm not really sure about the rarity of this chest, but it's still pretty good. If you're just farming here and have nothing better to do, then why not just collect this chest? Moving on to the next trick that I have here, it's about the rumble fruit, specifically the V ability. Everyone knows that the rumble fruit has an awakening, just like a lot of other fruits in the game. But what if I told you that it's actually better to have the V ability of this fruit unawakened? 99% of the time in Blox fruits, the awakened ability is 10 times better than the unawakened. But for this specific ability, the awakened ability is actually worse. This is what the ability looks like. It's just a rip-off spirit bomb, but when you have the fruit awakened, you actually throw the spirit bomb a lot slower. So it takes a lot of time to reach the ground. But in the unawakened version, it goes extremely fast. It literally zips to the floor. And if you're fighting someone, what do you guys think will be more useful? An ability that's slower or faster? It doesn't matter how much damage the ability does if it's never going to hit your opponent. So I would say that the awakened ability is better when you're fighting against NPCs, but when you're PvPing against players, definitely use the unawakened version. Next up, we got another secret at the graveyard on the second sea. If you head over to these graves, you're actually going to see that there's a bunch of text on the graves, and this is all just random stuff that's written on them. I'm pretty sure that it's just inside jokes that the devs have, because they literally make no sense when you read them. And there's a lot of things like this in the game. This isn't the only one. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, I'm going to be telling you about the most simple combo in the whole game. And all you have to have for this is the ice fruit, and you don't even need to have it awakened. Everyone knows that combos in the game are usually incredibly difficult to do because most of them are actually one-shot, but this isn't a one-shot combo, but it's incredibly easy to do if you just have the fruit. All you have to do is activate the ice fruit's V ability, then the C ability, and finally the Z ability. That's literally all you need to do. You don't need any other fighting styles, guns, or anything else. You just need this one fruit. Heading back to accessories, I told you guys about the Ghoul mask where it increases your player speed by 35%, but I got one that does a lot better. Introducing the pilot helmet. I don't know why it said introducing. This has literally been in the game for years. This is a rare accessory and gives you 130% more movement speed. If you combine that with the mink race, you're literally going to be light speed. It also does give you 10% health regeneration and 250 energy as well as 250 health, but the movement speed is crazy when it comes to this. It's literally the fastest accessory in the whole game. And the way you get it is farm the stone boss, who's the very first boss of the third sea. And I definitely recommend doing this if you are a Buddha user because it's going to make your life 10 times easier. You get to where you want to a lot faster. Next up, I got a pretty cool trick. It's not that practical, but it's still something cool you can do. If you head over to the floating turtle located on the third sea, then you go over to the turtle mansion. Did you know that you can actually go through the wall? Pretty interesting. Doesn't have that much practical use, but just look at this. Anyways, moving on to the next trick, I'm going to be telling you about a way to get a bunch of free diamond chests. If you head over to the cafe on the second sea and then set your spawn point there, once you spawn in, you just have to head up to Don Swan's mansion, head to this specific place, and behind this chair, you're going to notice a diamond chest. And this is actually the closest chest to any player spawn in the whole game, which makes it incredibly useful to server hop. So I definitely recommend doing that if you want to get your hands on some free cash extremely fast. And that's it.